Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the From the Stands podcast. I'm here with my good buddy Stallone, as always, on this Thursday, September 26th, 2024, here in Greenville, South Carolina. Not that you need to know where we are at, but that is where we both live. So, yeah, we out here. Episode number 38. I was trying to figure out a good athlete or something that wears number 38. Couldn't. So here we are. But yeah, we've got another jam-packed episode for you guys. Big time news, not only in the football world, but in the soccer world, as always, like we like to dive into. Football, we got Georgia and Alabama coming up this weekend, which we'll dive into in a little bit. And then the soccer world, we have a little bit of a debate, a little bit of a, I don't know if you could call it a debate, but I guess a big time discussion about maybe how good a player is. So we'll leave that cliffhanger for a little bit later. But for now, we're actually dealing with a little bit of weather here in the old Greenville, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Big old Hurricane Helen rolling on through, starting up in Florida, and we're getting a pretty good torrential downpour here in Greenville. Not too bad, but how's it been affecting your work or your life or anything else you'd like to share about the rain here?
It's not too bad. Helen or Helen A, whatever they're calling it. Isn't it literally Helen with an E?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wild.
Yeah, whatever.
Stupid. People got to figure out, like, what's up with these new age names, this trash stuff. Anyways, it's been all right. I haven't been working outside, but I did get pretty wet today because I had to load a bunch of stuff into the truck and then unload it at the job and stuff. So I was like, that's
You have
annoying.
a nice rain jacket now?
No, I don't. It's literally like a poncho I bought from Home Depot.
Probably gets the job done, though.
Company money, though. That's right. That's right. That's all that matters. But no, staying
good.
dry. Tomorrow's supposed to be pretty bad. Like, really bad, isn't it?
Yeah, as of right now, you're still working, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. I'll probably still work even if we don't have power and the roads are all flooded.
Oh,
We'll
my
be
goodness.
find a way to get there.
No, that's our old job. But
schools are canceled, though. My sister works at like a Jumpstart Center or whatever it's called. It's like a daycare, but a school, and they're closed tomorrow.
Yeah, I think most schools are down right now. I think the state of South Carolina is actually in a state of emergency right now officially. So
and I still got to go to work tomorrow. Do you have to work tomorrow?
I do have to work, but they're letting us work from home, so we'll be chilling. So
yeah, I can't really put stairs in from home, so
yeah, that's unfortunate.
Can't do it.
I guess there are some perks to certain jobs, but
if I stayed home, I was going to work on the podcast, but Sammy Boy's camera decides not to work. I'll still probably upload this to YouTube, but you won't be able to see Sam this week.
Yeah, it's all good. It's probably better that way anyway. But...
Oh my word! No, we got anyway today though.
Yeah, so we're struggling with a little bit of rain. I was talking with some people at work. This literally happens every time there's like a hurricane that comes through Greenville. Like all of Greenville like freaks out, like, oh, it's a tropical storm coming. Like bread flies off the shelves. Like everybody's like, making all these plans and stuff. And it's like we get like a decent little downpour of rain for like maybe 2 straight days, and that's like about it. Like there's no, like the wind isn't even that bad. Like it's just people freak out way too easily, in my opinion.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Whatever.
Sure. When in
it's
the
South and the wedding. Wedding?
The wedding? What? Whose wedding?
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's going on kind of in the world here in Greenville. I'm sure we'll survive, but hopefully none of us lose power. So Fuzzy Boy, stay dry tomorrow. I'll try to do the same from my cozy bed.
From your cozy bed in your pajamas with your laptop, you fool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all right.
Exactly.
It's all right. I'm not jealous.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not. But anyway, we got a jam-packed episode for you guys, as we always do. Let's get into it here in just a second. With week 4 in the NFL starting tonight, Thursday, Cowboys and Giants. My Cowboys looking for a big turnaround win after a couple losses in a row. We had week 3, obviously, last week. We were actually recording while a bunch of the games were going on. But we'll kind of dive right into the recap of some of those games. The first game we'll actually talk about is one that happened on Monday night. We had the Bills absolutely blowing out the Jags. Josh Allen is putting in a very early claim to that MVP award. He's got 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, has the Bills rolling right now. How do you think that the Bills are looking here early with a nice 3-0 record?
I wasn't actually keeping up with them like a whole lot. During the offseason, I actually thought they were going to do very poorly because they got rid of a bunch of big players for them, but they're kind of clearing books. So I was kind of like maybe a retooling year, not quite a rebuild, but it looks like they've taken a step ahead. And did you see Josh Allen's comments that people are saying were kind of
Yeah, I
aimed
saw
at
that.
Diggs a little bit, just
Yep.
saying like he's happy to have guys that just want to go out and compete, don't care about getting the ball because he's been spreading
Yeah,
the ball out like really well
for
these
sure.
last 3 weeks. But no, Josh Allen definitely just kind of putting the league on notice, saying like, Mahomes might be great, but I'm just as great, if not better.
Yeah.
In some aspects, he is. I think he's a little more durable than
Oh,
Mahomes.
yeah. He's probably the most
Move
durable quarterback in the NFL.
he technically moves better though,
Mm,
like, and definitely the arm strength way better.
yeah.
So I mean, he's right up there with Mahomes. Mahomes just has the wins and the head to heads, so obviously you're gonna put him
Yeah.
ahead. But nonetheless, good season so far for the Bills.
Yeah, dude's a unit for sure. Yeah, solid start from them. He's making a very good case for himself early on here in the MVP voting and everything. So kind of like you were saying, I kind of agree with that. I thought the Bills were gonna take maybe a little bit of a step back this year, maybe a little bit of a rebuild, just because they lost Diggs and a couple good pieces on the defensive side of the ball. So I just thought kind of that they were going to be not middle of the pack. I still thought they would make the playoffs, but they're
Mm-hmm.
still solidified, I think, as a good AFC contender there for sure. So I think, again, agree with what you were saying. I think the pressure's off for him to throw to Diggs all the time. Having that wide receiver one can, I think,
Right.
make him at least demand a lot of the ball a lot of the time, and makes you force balls in there that aren't really supposed to go to your wide receiver there. So spreading the ball around is definitely helping the program here early on. So Damar Hamlin actually got his first interception as
I did
well.
see that.
Just kind of
Wow.
remembered that,
Big for
but
him. Big for him.
yeah, first interception of his career. So
Yeah.
everybody was going nuts for obvious reasons around that. But he's a starting safety there, I think now. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's playing well, doing
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yes.
They blew
Solid.
out the Jags though. That was wild.
They did.
I
Yeah.
thought the
Trevor
Jags were gonna be.
Lawrence
Yeah,
looking
I was gonna get your
rough.
I was gonna get your reaction on that. Like, dudes, he's the no, Dak is now, but during the offseason, he was at one point the highest paid QB. Kind of reset the market
Yep.
at the beginning of the offseason, but like playing
Yeah.
like really poor. I think I saw a stat that like the five highest paid QBs are all like have a total of 3 wins in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Sounds
that's
about right.
crazy.
I
That
know that
is crazy.
Jordan Love and Dak are ahead of him now, but yeah, when he
Mm-hmm.
signed, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. Like he obviously had that first year that was terrible under Urban Meyer, and then the second year he kind of took a step in the right direction. I think they finished 8-8, might have made the playoffs. I can't remember exactly, but that was kind of like, all right, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next guy. And then last year was just really terrible. So I'm not really sure what the problem is. Like sometimes, like I was watching actually the Bills game, and towards the end of the Bills game, he got shellacked, and just he still delivered like an insanely good ball. But so I don't know. He has glimpses where you could see where he could be a number one pick, but yeah, just the overall package just isn't really doing it right now for the Jags. So, well, we'll see. I'm kind of a big Trevor Lawrence fan. I think he's got
Yeah, for sure.
good head on his shoulders and just a guy you want to root for. So I hope he
Great
figures
head of
it out.
hair. Great head of hair.
Yeah,
Dude
definitely.
has fantastic hair for a man or female, to be completely honest.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also kind of cool that he is playing with his college running back still. He's
True.
got a ETN back there. I think that's just kind of
Yeah.
cool when
He
guys
needs
from
to
the
do a
same
little bit more.
school.
He's on my fantasy team. I need
Yeah,
him. I need him to get more
yeah.
touches.
Didn't he give you only like 6 or 7 points last
Dude,
week
it
or
was
something?
something stupid last week, and I was just like, I lost by a lot last week. There was no hope for me, but still
Yeah,
need a little bit more of a pickup from him for sure.
yeah. Well, hopefully you get it this week. I'm not sure they're playing, but anyway, moving on. We'll move to the Bills' rival in the AFC. I guess it's debatable whether you can consider them a rival this year for the AFC, but the Bengals moved to 0-3, losing to the Redskins, with Jaden Daniels having
Hey
a
yo,
huge game, completing 91% of his passes in this game, highest ever for a rookie. Absolutely insane game by him. he had some really nice passes. They weren't just all just dink and dunk stuff too. It was some really nice a really nice display from Jaden Daniels. I'm not sure if you saw this game or not, but what do you have to say about the Bengals here starting 0-3?
Kind of surprising. You did kind of imagine with the whole Jamar Chase stuff going on that they would have a bit of a slow start to the season, but definitely not 0-3. Now, granted, they did play the Chiefs in those 3 weeks, and that's a hard game regardless, which was probably their better showing, to be
Right.
completely honest. And they had them on the ropes except for that PI call at the end of the game that led to a game-winning field goal by the Chiefs. But I think they'll turn it around. Long season still, but they got to turn it around soon. Like, I would hate to see them start 0-4 and really be like behind the ball.
I mean, when you
Starting the
start
season
0-4, I mean,
yeah,
you're punting on your season after that, kind of. But I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
granted, the Bills, what did they start last year? Like 2-6 or something. They came back from it, but
Yeah,
it's
it was
gonna
pretty gnarly last year
be
for the
tough.
Bills.
Yeah, I wanted to get your opinion actually on this. This is maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but one I've been kind of juggling around the last few days. I understand he's been hurt a little bit the last couple of years and everything, but when do you think we're going to start holding Joey B responsible for some of the Bengals struggles the last couple of years? Obviously, they had the amazing year in 2021, going to the Super Bowl. He was kind of
Right.
crowned as top 5 quarterback, which I still think he is on his best day. But obviously had the injury last year, and then this year he's supposed to be good. He says he's good. Bengals says that he's good, but still kind of nursing a little bit on the hand every now and then. Obviously, with the team at 0-3, how much of that are you putting on the shoulders of old Joey Burrow?
I don't know, man. I like them a lot, and I can't really throw them under their bus. They've had a lot, like I was saying, the off season with Jamar Chase leading into the season.
Mm-hmm.
His wrist injury, obviously, like I guess you could put that on him, but it's not like he's playing
Yeah.
bad. Like that's kind of out of
T.
his
Higgins has been
control.
out a little bit.
T. Higgins has been out, so I don't know. He takes winning seriously. I saw this clip.
Competitor.
Yeah, I saw a clip today where he was still like it was like almost an hour after the game or so. He was still in like full uniform, just talking to the coach. Like didn't even go to the locker room. So they're trying to fix things there. So I think if they start dropping a few more games, then you definitely got to start looking at the quarterback. Definitely with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase back, like excuses kind of go out the window once you got all your weapons back.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with most of that as well. I just thought it was interesting because, if it was not, I wouldn't say this is kind of a little bit over the top, but I wouldn't say if it was anyone else that they would be getting, like if it was Dak, for example, he'd be getting absolutely slaughtered right now.
Yeah.
But that's just because he plays for the Cowboys. But I do think it's interesting how little of the blame that he's getting right now with the Bengals at 0-3 with guys like Chase and Higgins and obviously Joe Burrow and I think a representative defense at least that he's just not getting too much of the blame, which is fair to some extent, but at some point he's got to elevate a little bit if he is as good as he says he is health wise. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Bengals huge must win game this weekend. Blanking a little bit right now on who they're playing, but like we were saying, absolute must win this week. But moving on to my beloved Cowboys, losing to the Ravens 28-25. We were down 28-6 for most of the second half, the first half. Got down 28-6. Put on a pretty good performance in the second half, being able to come back to make it 28-25. So good display from Dak. Dak actually had about 380 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns, I believe, no interceptions. So solid individual day from him. But defense, we just cannot stop the run, and then on offense, we can't run the ball. So obviously, with those two things in mind, we're not going to get too far against any kind of legitimate team. We'll get to our game tonight in a second. But did you have any thoughts on the old Cowboys letting us down or the Ravens? I guess a little bit of a storyline is the Ravens almost giving it to us there at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys kind of pulled it out of the fire there, but unfortunately didn't. I mean,
Ravens
we'll get
also
to it.
1-2, so
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of teams that are surprisingly like Cowboys, one of them. I mean, obviously you guys didn't get anybody in the offseason other than like re-signing
mm-hmm.
Ezekiel Elliott and That would be your most notable, I guess
Hey
you would
man, we
say.
got Dalvin Cook on the practice squad,
You
bro.
got Dalvin Cook on the practice squad, so you're just signing has-been running backs, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, no, just that's kind of like the season. Like, there's just a lot of surprise, and I forgot to put this in the doc, and we can touch on it quickly at the end of this segment. But to the resurgence of like teams and quarterbacks of old that like this season are just coming, like Sam Darnold and then Geno Smith and Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Just last week, did we put this in the doc? We should have, but the Panthers benching Bryce Young and the old Red Rocket. Why am I blank?
Andy
Dalton,
Dalton. Yep.
Andy Dalton. What he had, like three tutties and like 300 yards
300
passing,
yards. Yep. Yeah,
like
exactly.
crazy. So just like the resurgence of like, I kind of like it because like you see all these new quarterbacks coming into the league and they're all athletic and they can run and this, that, and the other, but they're not like, intellectually they can't play the game where you like at the level you have to be able to play the game at. And so
Yeah.
then you got like Derek Carr and Andy Dalton and all like Darnold, who are all very cerebral quarterbacks, not super athletic, but know how to play football. And it's shown and helping their teams do. I mean, I guess the
Yeah.
Panthers aren't doing well other than the fact that Andy Dalton came in and won
Right.
them their first game in a
Yeah, I think
while.
that hinges a lot on, at least at Andy Dalton, it hinges a lot on experience. But I think for those other guys, I think um, most of it has to do with just the situation that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
the coaching that's around you, a little bit the players as well. Because I mean, when these teams draft these quarterbacks, like if you're picking number one in the draft, it's obviously for a reason. Like the Panthers
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely horrible, basically at every position. Like Bryce Young, honestly, I don't think he's really fit for the NFL. But I mean, if you
Mm-hmm.
put any quarterback on that team, they're not going to do well at all. They might have the same exact record as Bryce Young. So I think it's all about the situation. A lot of the guys, like you were saying, like the Genos, the Sam Darnolds, they're put in impossible situations and expected to save a franchise without much help around them. So
Right.
I think it's cool to see those guys kind of have a resurgence on different teams with a little bit more talent, a little bit more competent coaching around them than they got on the teams that drafted them. So then maybe that's the case with Bryce Young. I still think he's a little small, and I don't think he
Yeah.
can maybe play the position as well as a lot of people thought when he came into the league. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you never know. Maybe a lot of trade rumors around him right now, so we'll see if he ends up on a different team by the end of the season. But yeah, it's a good point for sure.
Yeah. It was just, yeah, I just that just came to mind. I was listening to a podcast and just seeing the resurgence of all these
Mm-hmm.
players. I was like, it kind of gives you a little bit of nostalgia for sure. Looking
Yeah,
at all these guys balling out.
for
Good to
sure.
see.
Yeah. Speaking of guys balling out, Sam Darnold, we just spoke on him a little bit. He has his Vikings at 3-0. Huge surprise, I think, of the NFL season so far. The Vikings
Mm-hmm.
sitting at 3-0, blew out the Texans. The Texans are kind of the new gen, the hot team, the young stars. Obviously, they got C.J. Stroud, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, all the boys over there now. So they're kind of the hot new team, like I was saying, but they get absolutely shellacked in this game. Vikings are on a heater right now. I'm not sure how much you know about the Vikings, but I don't know. Did you have any big expectations for them coming into the year? I honestly thought they were going to go not winless, obviously, but definitely hovering around 500, not make the playoffs kind of team. So, um,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have huge expectations. If they figured out the quarterback position as they kind of have seemed to have figured out,
yeah, JJ
I
McCarthy
definitely,
going down early.
yeah, I definitely could see them doing well. I mean, Darnold was set to start the season regardless, but I think the expectation was to have JJ McCarthy like slowly work his way in and then kind of replace Sam Darnold.
Yep.
But no one's touching Sam Darnold right now. I was looking at his stats: 657 yards in the past 3 weeks, 8 TDs, which is first in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL. 73.5 QBR. Like, I mean, the dude's nuts. Like, he's playing out of his mind right now. I don't remember a time that he was playing this good, not even when he came into the league.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, it just kind of takes the right situation. I mean, having Jefferson definitely helps as well. But just a lot of these, it was wild to me. Sam Darnold's actually not that old.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he's young still. He's like, what, 26, 27 probably?
27, I think I saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the situation, and really the way to go to make a quarterback better is to have a offensive minded coach, and that's who he has in in Minnesota, and so
yeah,
happy for him. He's balling out, playing really, really, really good ball right now.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the Vikes in a good position. Our boy Jared will be more than thrilled with that, I'm sure. So, yeah, moving on to the next game here. I just put this in here briefly. Eagles squeak through 15-12 against the Red Hot Saints. Obviously, a solid dub for the Eagles over the Saints. The Saints putting up record numbers those first 2 weeks, but they kind of come back down to earth against the Eagles. Only reason I put this in here is obviously not to hate on the Eagles, even though I definitely could because I'm a Cowboys fan. But I feel like this is going back to like last year. But I feel like every game the Eagles win now is by like 6 points or fewer, 6 or 7 points or fewer.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously last year they had the big collapse at the end of the year, lost a bunch of games in a row, sputtered out in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. I was just going to get your take on that. How sustainable do you think that model is? Keeps squeaking out wins, and they always find a way kind of at the end. But do you see that coming to an end, or you think that that's kind of the Eagle way now, just kind of staying it to the end and then maybe get a touchdown at the end and win?
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about their mentality is kind of weak, and I would have to agree.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of like the old guard moving out of Philadelphia with Kelsey kind of being the last of that. That mentality of winning's kind of gone out the door, and Sirianni's
Oh, he's such a
he's not
tool. Oh my goodness.
he's not pumping anybody up. The dude can barely like form full sentences. Not that I can do any better, but I'm also not an NFL coach and talking to professional athletes. So, and
Yeah.
Hertz is kind of more of that like silent lead by example guy. And I
Mm,
think they lost the vocal leader in Kelsey. So I would just say I
I
just
see
think their
that.
mentality is a bit weak, and that's gonna bite them. I mean, you don't get anywhere by kind of just squeaking away wins and being satisfied with, hey, we got a W this week. You kind of have to push yourselves over the edge when it comes to being great or just being better than good.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I think that Hertz kind of peaked during that Super Bowl run a little bit. I think he was
Mm-hmm.
maybe disguised a little bit by all the weapons he had around him. I mean, they had a stacked roster. They had two guys basically at every position that could come in and start if needed. Obviously, his receiver room was loaded. He had a good running back. So I think that obviously he did well in that season, but it'd be hard to do bad when you've got those kind of weapons around you. So I think he might have peaked back then. That may be the best
Right.
Jalen Hurts that we're going to see. But I
True.
kind of agree with the Sirianni thing. I think it was last week or the week before. I kind of went off a little bit on Sirianni just because I don't think that he's like, what does he do? He leaves his offense to his OC and his defense to his DC, and he just kind of
Mm-hmm.
talks smack in press conferences and stares at cameras. But um, yeah, we'll see. I was hearing rumors about him getting fired last year. We'll see if he survives. I mean, I think he'll survive the year this year, but we'll see if they want to go in a different direction with him after this year, depending on how this year shakes out. But yeah, solid win for the Eagles. Moving on to the Chiefs. Chiefs, man, every dub, more controversy. Did you watch that Sunday night game against the Falcons? That was a good game right up until the end.
I did watch it. I actually went to bed right before because like it even got me like I was seeing that the Falcons kicked, they went for it on fourth when they should have kicked two field goals, which would have won the
Yes.
game. But like
Hmm.
when you're playing the Chiefs, they have this aura about them now that's kind of like the old Patriots where it's like we're probably not getting this ball back. We gotta win the game on this drive.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are starting out slow this year, to be honest. They're starting out slow.
Hmm.
But obviously what we're really trying to talk about is that final play of the Falcons drive, that
It's
no call.
crazy.
And I believe it's a no call. The dude's turned around, flailing his arms, guy has him wrapped up before the ball's even there. Like, how do
Textbook
you
PI.
how do you
Textbook.
this is what I'm thinking. Obviously, like the refing what are they called? The not squads. The basically the group of refs changed from game to game. So obviously it wasn't the
Hmm.
same ones as when they were playing the Bengals. But like, if you're gonna call the Bengals one, that
Yeah.
wasn't in the end zone that gave you a first down on like
Hmm.
fourth and 16 or whatever, you
Yeah.
gotta call this one too. Like this
Right.
one was more blatant than the other one.
100%. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
he's
don't
he's
know.
got him wrapped up. like hours before the ball even gets there. He's not looking for the ball. It's just it's textbook PI for sure. Definitely could have used that touchdown to Pitts in my fantasy league. So come on, man. Uh,
They're
but
on to you,
I
Sam. They want to see you. They want to see your downfall. They don't care
yeah,
about the
man.
Chiefs. It's all about you. It's all
That's
about
what I'm
you.
saying. I love the
Remember
little
that.
jabs we're putting in here in fantasy throughout the
Yeah.
NFL part. But yeah, I was actually texting with Pete throughout the game, and obviously the easy thing is to chalk it up to that bad call, and obviously it's a terrible call. It should be called all day long. But I think the Falcons have to take a little bit of accountability here because I was
Mm-hmm.
texting with Pete, and about 5-ish minutes to go. I can't remember if it was on the PI drive or if it was no, I think it was a different one. But anyway, it was like 4th and 5 or 6. I think they're at the 15-yard line or so.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes to go. They decided to go for it instead of
Mm-hmm.
kicking the field goal down 6, I believe, at that point.
Yep.
Don't exactly quote me on it, all these numbers, but if they would have kicked a field goal there, and then I believe the Chiefs went 3-and-out right after that, and then they got the ball back really soon after that. But instead of just having to kick a field goal to send it to overtime, they have to go down and get a touchdown, which makes it a lot harder. Blah blah blah. So I
Right.
don't like Pete said this perfectly. Like, I don't know why people don't kick field goals anymore. I mean, it's like right there. Like just take the points. They,
Mm-hmm.
they had 3 timeouts left. So like they have everything they need to do. Like just trust your defense. The Chiefs hadn't been working the ball like they did in the first half at all either. So
Right.
I don't really
I
know what
think.
was going on in their minds there. But
Yeah,
um,
I think Mahomes just has everybody scared. Like people have just it's like the
yeah,
Brady effect. Like don't give Brady anything. Don't give him
mm-hmm,
anything. And I think that's kind of the thing with Mahomes now is they've been so dominant and he's so good that
right,
it causes even coaches now to make mistakes. And like you would like
yeah,
looking back 2020 like that's a mistake for sure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of Mahomes aura, I guess, some fear of Mahomes, but I mean, I don't know. What do you like? But I feel like if you throw a touchdown there, then you're ahead by I think it'd be 1 point by then. That's when you
Yeah.
fear Mahomes is to like go down in a 2-minute drill
Right.
and get like not. I mean, if they're I don't know if they're down 3 or sorry if the Chiefs are up 3, they're just going to be running the ball to run out the clock. So you just trust in your defense to get a stop, call 3 timeouts, and you get the ball back. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, you should be
But
coaching the Falcons, Sammy.
dude, sometimes, man, like I don't know why everyone can see like the obvious calls and the people that it matters for. Like in the NFL coaching, they're just like, nah, we're
I
gonna do
I
this. I
think
don't know,
I think analytics have taken over so much that it actually like it
bro.
causes coaches to rely on that and not think. Like I
That
honestly think that's what's happening. Like they're
yeah,
just like look at this piece of paper and it gives you a percentage on what you should do. Or I don't know how they do
yeah,
it. They probably have computers or guys upstairs
right.
looking it up or whatever. But they just like there's like what do the analytics say? And I'm just gonna do that. But
Hmm.
analytics don't put in like consideration of like how the game's flowing,
Yeah,
like who's on the opposite side of the field, like just things that numbers just can't account for, which is why we have coaches and not computers doing this stuff.
yeah.
Like
It's
I
funny you
don't
say
know.
that because in the text exchange with Pete, I actually said that I was like, it's all the analytics now. Brandon Staley effect, the
Yeah,
coach that got fired from the Chargers. But yeah, interesting win for the Chiefs, obviously with the no call. But we'll see this next week in which ways the Chiefs will win yet again. But um, last game we'll touch on here is actually a little bit of a preview of the game tonight. We got Chiefs, Cowboys, and Giants tonight. Obviously, my Cowboys looking for a huge dub. This is a little bit of a must-win. Just looking at the schedule we have coming up, we have to play the Steelers, Lions, 49ers, and Falcons all in the next four weeks, and then we have the Eagles right after that. So not getting any easier for our schedule. So definitely need to win this game. Malik Neighbors absolutely lighting it up. I believe he leads the league in receiving yards right now. So I'm not really sure how my Cowboys are going to come out. Like I said earlier, can't run the ball at all. And our defense is getting just absolutely slashed right now. But what do you think the score is going to be tonight? Maybe a little bit of a predictor from old Fezzi.
little predictor, Cowboys and Giants. I could see the Cowboys really like finding their feet tonight. I mean, must win. Like this
Oh
early
yeah.
in the season, it's already must win. We were kind of talking about that with Cincinnati. I think Cowboys win. Score wise, I don't know. the Cowboys, not the Cowboys, sorry, the Giants don't really have much of a run game, and so that benefits the Cowboys because you guys can't stop nobody when it comes to that.
Right.
I think you guys win like 24-14.
Ooh,
24-14.
All 14 points.
Little 10-point spread.
I like that. Well, I definitely hope that happens tonight. I was kind of rattling off the schedule there a second ago, but even if we win tonight, dude, like who's to say we don't lose literally the next 5 games in a row?
Yeah.
Steelers, Lions, 49ers, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, and then we finally have an easier game against the Commanders, but they just smoked the Bengals. So
yeah, so like it really, and that's like late in the season, and Jaden Daniels could be
my goodness,
be popping off at that point. Like that could have been his coming out party. You guys are gonna get shellacked in like 6 weeks.
Goodness. Yeah, probably. Honestly, it's gonna be a tough year, but it's okay. I predicted this.
Washington wins the division,
dude. I don't think that'll happen, but
you really?
I mean,
who's gonna beat them?
I think the Eagles are probably going to end up winning the division. I think they have enough to still win it, but I think the Commanders will probably finish above the Giants. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, so I believe that with my whole heart. I bet the proverbial farm on that one.
Oh boy. Yeah. But anyway, that's a little bit of a look into the NFL, a little bit of a recap, went a little bit long on that. We'll touch on the college in just a second, but we're going to hopefully get that win tonight and get back in the win column.
All right, moving along to college football. We're going to start this segment off with the number 1 team in the country, Texas. Sammy boy, we got a little bit of a QB competition going on. Question mark. Man. Arch Manning popping off with Ewers. Do I say that right? Ewers?
Quinn Ewers.
Ewers?
Yeah.
Ewers. It's spelled
it's like yours with an accent. Yeah.
Ewers.
Quinn Ewers.
Interesting. Yours, I'm gonna get that wrong now because I'm thinking about it. But anyways, both QBs playing very well. Actually, Arch Manning coming in after yours. I feel like I'm saying it wrong.
You are.
I've butchered. I should have asked. Now I'm just Ewers.
Quinn Ewers.
Okay.
There you go.
Yours. All right. Went down with an abdominal injury. I just hopped right back into it.
You did.
Just get back on my feet. Boom, and we're going. All right. He went down with an injury 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yep.
And since then, Arch Manning's taken over and kind of taken the nation over as well. I did see today that the head coach actually will not say who's starting. Obviously, that's kind of just keeping everything in-house, but a little bit of QB battle, Sammy?
Yeah, man. I think you got to at least talk about it a little bit. Obviously, Quinn Ewers, first-round draft pick projection as of right now in the upcoming draft, but obviously he has all the experience on his side. But Arch Manning is definitely the next one. They're in Austin, Texas. I'm not sure. I mean, I think, like I said, you got to at least talk about it now just with the performances that he's been putting up. But as far as I'm concerned, Quinn is still the starter if he's healthy. Now, I think that's the question you got to ask. Do you want a 75, 80, 85% Quinn Ewers, or do you want 100% Arch Manning? So I could think that's kind of what it comes down to. But obviously, huge game coming up, or games coming up. They got to face both Georgia and I think they face Alabama as well at some point. Or is it Oklahoma? I can't remember. But either way, you want a healthy Quinn Ewers for sure. So I can see them not trying to risk it too much and playing Arch Manning in this game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at the schedule and I think they've played. No, Arch Manning's played less games and he has 7 touchdowns and Quinn Ewers has 8. So I mean, he's taken this opportunity and really like solidified himself as like a viable starter, which not a lot of people had him as.
I mean, yeah, but he's faced UTSA and Louisiana Monroe. So
I was gonna say that it was a bit of a like I mean, I'm butchering it, dude. Holy cow. Quinn, I'm gonna use his first name. Dude, it's literally spelled Ewers, like EW, ew. Anyways, Quinn, number 3, Texas's quarterback.
Which one?
Quinn Ewers. Anyways, obviously he was a Heisman candidate before he got injured, but he played Michigan and played very well. He dominated Michigan, so obviously playing the better opponent. Texas does play. I looked it up now. I can't remember who do they play this coming week. It's actually a decent opponent.
Mississippi State, I believe, opening up SEC play.
Yeah, so I mean Mississippi State's 1-3, but they're better than UTSA and who was the last
Louisiana
team they just
Monroe.
played? Yeah, literally can't even remember them because they're irrelevant. But just taking shots at these random universities that I have no business taking shots at. They're probably like, "Oh, from State's podcast,
all those group of 5 schools, man."
On Fez's hit list. Anyways, moving along, a little bit of a weird headline floating around the sports world right now, but UNLV starting quarterback is benching himself, redshirting this year due to he is. He told him he's not playing anymore, saying he's going to redshirt this year because he was not paid what he was expected to be paid by NIL, which this is the first incident of this happening where someone was promised a certain amount of money, didn't get it, and I mean, taking action. Like, I mean, get your money if you can, obviously. Yeah. But have you seen anything about this? Do you have any thoughts about it?
I did, yeah. Apparently, he was promised about $100K in NIL, and he got, I think, a little bit over 10 or something like that. So obviously, that's a nice little chunk of change still. But I mean, if you're promised 10 times what you're getting, obviously, sit out, do what you got to do to get that money. Obviously, I'm been on this podcast before, just hating completely on disagreeing with the whole NIL and paying players and all this stuff. I think it's ruining the game, and this is one of the examples of that. But I think if you're going to pay players and everything, you promise a player $100,000, you give the player $100,000, and if you're only giving him 10, then that quarterback can sit or leave or do whatever he wants if you're not getting compensated like you were promised. So I think there's a couple other UNLV kids too in there that were
really?
Maybe not necessarily sitting, but like they were sparking up like, hey, me too, I didn't get paid what I was promised, kind of thing. So yeah, kind of crazy scenario over there in Las Vegas. You think that they'd have plenty of money to pay players, but
yeah, you think they'd be splashing cash, bro, splashing cash.
Guess
but
not.
Yeah, he was actually 3-0 to start the season too, and so now they got to go to their backup, and I'm like, better pay the boy. I think it's too late though. I think he redshirted, and I think once you do that, like you can't like switch from doing that. So
yeah, who knows?
I think it's kind of too late.
You think that they would hop on that pretty quick though, and be like, okay, here's your $90,000, and get back in the game and get us to 4 or 5-0, But
yeah, I mean, if he's any good, he's definitely hitting that transfer portal next season, and he's going somewhere else. And if he's any good, he might wind up on a better team.
Yeah,
maybe. Who knows?
Never know.
I didn't even know about the kid until this happened, so maybe not. Maybe he just sucks. Anyways, moving on to two teams that don't suck. Big matchup this week. Number 2, Georgia, taking on number 4, Alabama, which you usually see it differently. Usually it's like number 1 and number 2. I actually have not been keeping up with Alabama this season. Don't know why. Don't care about them. Don't even. Yeah. Anyways, Georgia with a little bit of. I really have. I don't know. Maybe it was the bad weather today. I'm just like, frick everybody. Georgia with a little bit of scare last week. Was it last week with Kentucky?
It's 2 weeks ago. They had a
2
bye.
weeks ago. 2 weeks ago with Kentucky. So we'll see how they come out. Not super impressed by Georgia. I've watched Georgia more than Alabama. I don't know anything about Alabama. But what's your prediction for this game, and what's your preview of the two teams?
Yeah, probably the reason that you haven't really heard much about Alabama is because they haven't really played anybody. They played Western Kentucky, South Florida, and then they beat up on Wisconsin. So, not the caliber of opponent we're used to seeing them play in the SEC, obviously. First huge test for Alabama and for Georgia, I guess, even though Georgia's had a little bit better competition to play. But like you were saying, a little bit of a scare from Georgia. I think Georgia reacts positively to the scare against Kentucky. I think that's a team that they should be beating by a lot more than 1 point. I think they get their act together. I think Carson Beck, even though personally I think he's a little bit overrated, people are talking about him as a top 15 draft pick next year. I think he's a little bit more overrated, but I think he gets his act together and gets the Georgia offense humming again to where they can put up some points. And Kalen DeBoer's first real game at Alabama. As for a score, man, dude, I don't know. I'm going to say 31-21 Georgia, but you never know.
I like that.
So
I'll go with that because I know nothing. You're the expert on this topic today because I just don't care about Alabama. Never have. Always kind of followed just because of Nick Saban because how good he was. And
I've spent the last 10, 15 years of my life hating Alabama. So
yeah, and I'm not going to stop. Definitely some bad blood though. Last season, obviously, Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game and kicking them out of the college playoffs, which was huge controversy. Everyone was saying they got in just because of their name, just because of Nick Saban, which is probably kind of true, and I definitely believe it. So Georgia's definitely. I mean, you turn up against Alabama, it's like whenever you play the Patriots, even if it's a down year, it's like we're gonna beat the crap out of the Patriots because they won so much before. So it's just how it is. But
yeah, I believe Georgia hasn't lost a regular season game since 2020, I believe.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Insane to think about.
2020. That's wild. All right, rounding this off, some other notable games this weekend. Number 15 Louisville versus number 16 Notre Dame. Was Notre Dame? They were like a top 10 team at the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah, they were all the way up to number 5, and then Northern Illinois beat them.
Northern Illinois. Wow, I'm struggling tonight, bro. This is worse than usual. If you guys have been listening to the podcast, I cannot pronounce anything to save my life, especially when we start getting into the soccer. That's all Sam for sure. But then we got number 20 Oklahoma State versus K-State, who's ranked 23. This is a good. I was gonna say interstate rival, but that's not it. Sam, I gotta get myself off this podcast because I'm butchering this. But you also put in here a new doc on Netflix. What's this about?
Yeah, so the documentary itself isn't new, but there's a new documentary about the SMU football team from the 80s. And I think it came out in 2010, but it's a 30 for 30. So obviously we always love the 30 for 30 documentaries. But the only reason I put that in there is just because kind of piggybacking off the UNLV NIL chaos. Basically, it's all about SMU getting the quote unquote the college football death penalty in the 80s. They got caught for paying a bunch of players in the early 80s. Were on probation for a couple years, didn't learn their lesson, paid even more players, got even better players. And then SMU, the NCAA, basically punished them by saying you're not allowed to offer scholarships for 2 years. You're not going to be on TV for 2 years. You're not going to be in bowl games for 2 years. So it's basically the death penalty is what they call it. So it's like an hour and a half. It's basically like a movie. Super interesting. I haven't even finished it yet, but I'm about an hour through or something like that. I don't usually like to stop like halfway through one of those things, but kind of had to. But it's super good, super interesting. The cultural aspect of it too, with SMU being in Dallas during the time where Dallas was booming financially and culturally and everything, is kind of a big city in America kind of thing is interesting. So just thought I'd give that a shout out. Kind of, it's interesting to look at all that stuff and think about how ticky-tack so many of the rules were back then versus what's going on now, obviously with everything exploding with NIL and everything. So just kind of thought I'd give that a shout out just because I thought it'd kind of be interesting for people to watch if they're interested in that kind of stuff. So
yeah, for sure. Definitely interesting. I'll have to watch it. I love me a good documentary, especially when it's about sports. But yeah, that's going to do it for this segment, the NFL and college football scene. Definitely some good games to watch, and we'll for sure be watching this week as well.
Hopping over the pond for some world soccer over in Europe. Not too many games to really report on this past week. We kind of hit on most of the action on Sunday. Kind of had the opportunity of recording right after most of the big games had already gone down, so those are pretty much covered. We do have a couple storylines though coming out of all European soccer. We have Man City midfielder Rodri. Obviously, he went down pretty early in the Arsenal game. Had to come out. Ends up he has a torn ACL, will be out for the season. Huge loss for Man City. Like I was saying last week, kind of the engine of that team really makes him makes him go most of the time. He has some kind of crazy record where he's only lost 2 or 3 games while he has started for Man City. So that's obviously not only a testament to just him, but to the team as a whole. But obviously, with him in the midfield, they're next to unbeatable. So, how do you
Mm-hmm.
think that the absence of Rodri is going to affect their season? I think they're a little bit more vulnerable, to be quite frank with you. Not as quite as indestructible, I guess you could say. But what say you?
Yeah, it definitely hurts them. He's in the running to win the Ballon d'Or this year. Makes them
Mm,
go, makes Spain go. So huge loss. It'll kind of tie into the next topic, but just I think just so many games played starts wearing on the body no matter, because he's a pretty dedicated person. So like a lot of the times you see these youngsters getting hurt and it's like, okay, they don't put the time in, they kind of just fly by on natural ability. But Rodri's like, like married to the game, very much dedicated and works every day, works really hard. So kind of seeing him go down based on wear and tear is really, really discouraging, and
mm,
a topic we'll definitely talk about in coming podcasts as well, with the different format and the Champions League stuff like that. But Manchester City, it definitely hurts them. Like whenever you lose one of your best players, it definitely hurts them. But I don't think it hurts them as much. I think I saw the odds the other day, and they're even with Arsenal now, which they were ahead before, but even.
mm.
So I mean, Pep will figure it out. He'll just change the formation, maybe play 2 holding midfielders and then one in front of them, or something like that. He'll change tactics, figure it out, and they'll be humming again. But it's definitely a huge miss for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like you were touching on a little bit, kind of going into our next subject is just about the players playing super long seasons. I feel like every year there's a new tournament format or something that's adding games, and just obviously that goes back to money being a huge aspect. I think it's interesting when we compare kind of what we're talking about in the last few weeks with injuries in the NFL. Obviously, the NFL is a lot different because it's a contact sport. We understand that, yada yada. But I think in the context that we're talking about it is like maybe some of the injuries that we have seen in the NFL is because a lot of the star players are sitting out for most of the preseason. They're not ready for the season to start and hit the ground running. Maybe a little bit slow. So their bodies just aren't ready for the big time taxing season of the NFL, all that brings. So that's why they're getting hurt early on in the season. Whereas in Europe, obviously they don't have all the contact and everything. But at this point, we just have, especially the big clubs, they're playing just. I was about to say hundreds. That's an exaggeration, but I think Man City played something like 55 or 60 games last year in one calendar in the season, which is just
Yeah,
absolutely insane. So if you're fighting on all fronts in all 4 competitions, you got Europe and then the league, and then say you have 2 cup tournaments in your country, and then you have like a super cup or something added on to that. It's just game after game after game. If you don't have a big squad, that's a ton of miles on these guys' bodies, and they even though that a lot of these soccer guys are at their peak physically, they still can't keep up. But I'm not sure if you agree with some of that stuff or not. But I definitely think that it's a huge issue going forward, and you hear a lot of the soccer guys kind of speaking up about that now. So
yeah. I mean, in this world of like sports medicine, like constantly evolving and getting better than past years, and seeing players play like a lot longer than they used to. Granted, they go to smaller leagues and stuff like that. We look at like the Cristiano Ronaldos and the Messis of the world playing in MLS and Saudi, but still playing at a decent level and competing, well into, their upper 30s.
mhm.
But I think with the Champions League and leagues and just the different cups that are being added and the extra games, I think it might just even out to where like players' careers just don't last as long because like they're playing, you know 10-15% more games, and it's just wearing and tearing, and they can't
Yeah.
get to the level of like Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi just because I mean it's taxing. It's your
Yeah.
body just doesn't hold up like it used to, and so it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, I think in today's age too, obviously we have the new age medicine and everything. I think it's making players last a whole lot longer than they used to. You used to get guys, starting to retire at 31, 32, which is definitely the case about a guy we'll talk about in a second. But now you got guys going well into their 30s, some cases even early 40s, maybe not playing quite at the top level, even though some still are, like Pepe, for example, or Ronaldo. But obviously Messi's almost 40s, like 38. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I think some of that might be canceled out a little bit if, like you were saying, like you have guys playing just an insane amount of games, and I think some of that will maybe bring down some of the length of time that a lot of these guys have on their bodies, at least at the top level. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
they get it figured out, and a lot of the greediness will kind of get figured out. But I don't really have too much high hope for that. But I guess we'll
Yeah.
see. I think if enough players come out and say, "Hey, man, we're not playing. We got to do something different." I think eventually that's the only way that it'll succeed, because if you don't have the players, you don't have the product. So
Right.
um,
Right.
hopefully they get enough big time names on there to kind of say that there's a problem here. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But speaking of old guys, Wojciech Szczesny has come out of retirement to join Barcelona on obviously a free transfer because he's not tied to anybody. But Ter Stegen is out for the year. Did he have an ACL, or what was the injury with him? Do
It
you
was a
remember?
knee injury of some sort, yeah, but
Yeah.
definitely
So
Barcelona being plagued, like
yeah,
plagued with injuries.
right. So Ter Stegen out for the year. I have no idea who their backup was before they signed Chesney, but obviously he had just retired a few months prior. But Chesney coming out of retirement to join Barca, I think it's a good move for him. Good move for Barca. I think he was always solid for Juventus all those years. Maybe not top goalkeeper tier, but definitely a serviceable goalie for sure. Spent some time at
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal in his younger years, so I think it's a solid signing for Barca. It's not going to, shatter the earth or anything, but solid stuff for them. Do you like that signing as a kind of a closet Barca fan, or what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not someone who was sitting on his couch for like 2 years and then we pulled him
Right.
off the couch. So like you said, he retired a few months ago, still in shape, obviously. Goalkeeper's a little different, you know. I mean, yeah, you got to be in shape, but you don't have to like get back to match fitness. And
Yep.
the learning curve is a little, not the learning curve, but I guess like the getting back into shape curve is a little less steep, but I think it's good. I mean, if you're looking around, like really, who are they going to get? And I mean, if the guy's interested, wants to play for you, like that's better. So I don't have too much to say. Just
Yeah.
Barca down bad, doing really well in the league.
On fire.
Little bit different in some of the cups and
Yeah.
competitions, but
Yeah. One to 0, I believe, last night. So
yep,
good for
yep,
them.
yep.
Yeah, solid. So we got one guy coming back from retirement into playing, and then we have another. I would consider him legend of the game, going into retirement. Actually, now we have Rafael Varane retiring from Italian side Como. It's kind of interesting that he ended up playing for them for a little while. Obviously, Real Madrid stalwart there for a long time, about 2010 to I believe 2018 or so. Won 3 La Ligas with Real Madrid, 4 Champions Leagues, obviously part of that dynasty, I guess you could call it, there at Real Madrid for a long while. Got a big money move to Manchester United. Um, didn't quite perform there as well as his Madrid days, but let's be honest, who can perform in Manchester United's dumpster fire there? Still got an FA Cup out of it though, so props for that. And then just plagued with injuries the last year or two, and then he went to Como, Cesc Fabregas's team, newly promoted Como in Italy. I've heard that there's a lot of not big time, but like guys that are a little bit older that are going to that team now.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's like, kind of like the LA of Italy. Like even though they have a pretty small club, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
super like touristy spot, lot of
Gotchas.
money. It's kind of like
Uh,
Monaco kind of thing.
I
So
see.
kind
Okay.
of
Makes
attracting
sense.
players there. So obviously they have Cesc Fabregas and a couple other guys like that. But so he's been there this season. I think he made an appearance in the Coppa Italia, but the injuries are just too much. So
Mm-hmm.
decided to call it a career. Obviously not one of your favorite players or really anybody's favorite player, but would you say he's a legend of the game with the 4 Champions Leagues and about 10 years at Madrid?
Yeah, I would say he's a legend. He was definitely in the running for Ballon d'Or there a few years ago. World Cup
World
champion.
Cup winner. Yeah, I didn't even mention that. Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I would definitely say legend for sure. Um,
He was a like
Great player, great player.
yeah. Yeah, he was a undoubted starter at on France when they were,
Mm-hmm.
killing everybody, and Madrid
Yeah,
too. I mean, him and Ramos for all those years. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, he'll definitely be missed. Kind of weird. Like I was just wondering, like we don't have to go in depth into this, but like obviously goes to Como and just I don't know. Do you like someone who's been at the highest of highs at the world stage and club stage?
mhm.
Like, do you do you think like when you drop a level, it's kind of like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah,
like, and kind of because like Como's still in season, right? Correct? Like,
yeah. I mean, it just started, right?
yeah, obviously. So like, yeah. So could it be a little
Very
bit of that?
strange.
Just kind of like,
Yeah,
I'm just not. I don't love the game anymore. I played at the highest level, and this just doesn't do it for me anymore.
yeah. I mean, I definitely think that depending on who you are, that has something to do with it. He's 31, so still pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
Um, could probably still play. I think the injuries have a lot to do with it too, but I think it also
Mm,
depends on the mindset of the player. If you're at peace with what you've accomplished in the game, you feel like you can't really, you're not can't play at the highest level anymore. I can see where if you do make a move to a smaller club like Como, it just doesn't really do it for you anymore. And maybe he did realize that, kind of like, what am I doing at Como? Like, yeah, I have a nice life. I'm, on the beach or whatever he's doing, but like from a footballing perspective, just not really doing it. Playing, even if you're not performing the best at Manchester United, going from playing in front of 80,000 people, one of the best stadiums in the world, or playing for the best team in the world at Real Madrid a few years earlier, just playing at Como, just not really doing it for you for the love of the game, like you were saying. So,
right.
but then there's other guys like Iniesta, for example, who obviously won everything you possibly could at Barcelona, realized he was getting older, can't really truck it with the big boys anymore. So he's still in Japan. He's been over there like 5 years now. I think for him it may be a little bit more of like, I'm at peace with what the game has given me, and I'm just kind of playing for fun, even if it is at a professional level. And he's obviously making a ton of money over there. So yeah, it kind of just depends on the player, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah, legend of the game retires. Sad to see him go, like you were saying, but glad that he's kind of able to retire and focus on some of his injuries going forward. Next thing is just about another transfer, I guess you could say. I only threw this in here because I'm a Ronaldo fan. I've been seeing tons and tons of rumors about this. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but just gives me Manchester United vibes from 2020 or whenever it happened. Ronaldo to Sporting. Can you see it happening or not?
I could see it happening, like tail end of his career, like one
I'm seeing
year, just going
January, man.
back.
January transfer window.
Really, that's wild. Is
Yeah.
he unhappy in Saudi or like getting ready to
Uh
retire? I don't see him retiring because he's got
no.
a World
I
Cup
don't
to try to make it for, bro.
well, that's what I was going to bring. I think that he might go there, one, because apparently his mom has said that she always wants him to go back to Sporting. He's on record saying that he wants to play at least one season for Sporting before he retires. I think that could be like the perfect move for him to get in the not semi. Portugal's a legitimate league for sure. To get into a legitimate league, to get
Mm-hmm.
into a form where he can actually contribute for the 2026 World Cup. I don't think that there's any doubt, if he still wants to and is not injured, that he makes the team at least.
Yeah.
Whether or not he starts is a debate to be had on you know on another day or whatever. But
Right.
I think that might be the perfect move for him to try to get in shape to be able to contribute on a good level for them in 26, and obviously be on that team and contribute. But yeah, we'll see. Oh, I just remembered when I was listening to the podcast. I don't know why we talked about Ronaldo, but at the end you were like, um, I just said something about like what ifs or something, and you're like, yeah, all you Ronaldo fans with your what ifs. So here's
Yeah.
here's another what if. What if he goes to Sporting? So,
Yeah,
but
facts.
anyways, we'll see if
Wild.
he can add to his 900 goals, but. We'll touch on Messi a little bit too, just because I like to couple them together. Messi is
Wow,
coming
you're
back
so
in the
fair.
MLS, right?
Yeah, he is back. He had like a
Any
goal and 2 assists
performances?
in his first
Okay,
game back.
okay.
Yeah, you'd have to look it up.
Inter
Inter
Miami doing
Miami.
good?
Yeah, I think they're like second in MLS or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't keep
So
up
I
with.
didn't do the research on them before, so we'll kind
Let's
of leave it at that.
see.
But we'll see if he can
Can't spell Miami.
steal another Ballon d'Or with a couple more goals from Miami.
Dude,
or something.
imagine. Like, imagine he won one playing for Inter Miami, bro.
He technically did. He won his last one when he was
I know,
on
but like
Miami's roster.
he did all that like before he moved. So like, yeah, I know it goes towards like, oh, the first MLS player to win
There's
the
no
Ballon
way,
d'Or.
dude.
So stupid. Like, you gotta like a full season in the MLS.
I know.
Would be we're looking at tables.
Rig another one for him. 40
They are
40 goals
number one
in the MLS. 40 goals in the MLS. Let's get him another Ballon.
Wow, convincingly in number one. They're like 12 points ahead FC Cincinnati.
I did see a meme that was saying that Suarez should be taking all that credit because apparently Messi's been hurt all year. But
yeah, he got hurt in that Copa America, and I think he was ailing from that for like a long time, and then finally
I remember his ankle was like
back.
the size of my head. But anyways, I'm hoping to see a nice LA Galaxy Inter Miami final with Marco Royce coming out on top. But
that would be pretty sweet. That would
anyway,
be sweet.
Wrapping up the podcast, moving on to younger people. Let's get talking about all these oldies in here. Goodness gracious. Our star boy, Christian Pulisic, been in the news recently. He's been playing really, really well for AC Milan recently, not just in the league, but in the Champions League as well. He's got a couple goals. This has been sparking some talk stateside. I think it's mainly stateside, probably, because Europeans love to hate on Americans. Is Christian Pulisic world class?
Ooh.
What say you, Mr.
What say me?
American / Venezuelan.
All right. / Venezuelan, that's right. All right. First of all, I love my boy Pulisic for sure. Been rooting for him. Low key, why I kind of like follow the teams that I do. I liked Chelsea before, and then when he got signed, I was like, dude, this is great. Like, awesome. Is he world class? First off, you got to define world class, right? And that's different for everybody. World class to me is you could go to any team, start and contribute, like very like going anywhere in the world, you'll be fine. Obviously, world class. And then consistency. You got to be doing it over, I would say, like a few seasons. So this is where I have him currently right now. I would say he is top class. I wouldn't say he's world class. But if you look at his numbers, there's a really convincing case. He has, since he's coming to Serie A, he is top in goal contributions out of any player. That's even Leao and Lautaro, and anybody in Serie A. So that's pretty impressive in itself. This is where I have Pulisic. Like, this is why I put him in top class, because last year he did really well coming away from Chelsea, and obviously we all know the Chelsea situation was just bad from when he got there. Sam, your camera's here.
Oh, is it?
I can see you. Wow. The very last segment of the podcast. So we're here. Perfect. All right. Anyways,
that's gonna sound super weird on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. I've been like trying to figure it out like during the podcast, so that's why
my camera's
really
been off for those of you who are on listening
or joining late. But
yeah,
but we're talking Christian Pulisic. Is he world class or not? I have him currently top class. I wouldn't quite put him in that world category based on consistency. Last season had a really good season. I think he had like 15 goals, like 10 assists, something like that. His best club season so far. This season starting out really well. Where I see him taking the step this season is he's scoring against the big boys in big games.
Mm.
I know we kind of ripped into him this last game because he was like really excited scoring against Inter Milan.
That was
but
me.
like,
I was like, he's just abusing about 4 or 5 celebrations.
but we're here for it because to my point, last season, even against like, you know, like Roma, who like obviously isn't like top tier, not the Roma of old, but still like, you know, it's a well-known name. Absolutely nothing. Doesn't show up. Inter Milan doesn't show up. Champions League against formidable clubs doesn't show up. I know he got them into Europa against I think it was PSG or something like that. He scored that one goal to get them into third in the group, but or whatever. But this season, even though some of them are losses, scoring solo goals against the likes of Liverpool, and then obviously in the Milan Derby this past weekend, scoring to start that game off too. And they're like solo goals, like not like sitting in front of goal, getting dinks in, being in the right place, like picking up the ball at halfway, taking it right at the goal, slotting it in. So that's where I would say he's taken like a massive step. Like he's by far Milan's best player. The stats say that, the eye tests say that. And over Leao. Leao doesn't put in work on the defensive end, but also his goal contributions not quite there. Even to the point where like
is a prerequisite for world class as a winger, having to track back and play defense as well. Because for me, it's not.
No, I wouldn't say that, and that's not why I would say it. I'm just
okay.
Where I would
it just sounded like it was the differentiator between Leao and Pulisic. It was like, Pulisic comes back. I was like, well, you don't need that for a winger.
I'm saying I was using that as a reason to why he's Milan's best player right now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But also because Leao's not scoring. Usually Leao gets away with being lazy because he's putting the ball in the back of the net twice a game or something like that. Mm-hmm. Where Leao hasn't been doing that, and he's lazy, so he's really just like a net zero. Actually, probably a negative at this point. I'm like ripping into him, but I mean like serious.
You're ruthless today.
I don't know what
I just trashed you. Just cut him at this point. Like,
I don't know
so
what's in this Olipop. Anyways, Christian is not world class at this moment, even though I love the dude to death, think he's great, love when he plays for us. I think if he puts together a better season this season than last season, we would have a better discussion because he would have done it over 2 seasons. And I think that's, if you do it over 3, like that's enough to be like, okay, this dude's top class, but the consistency is not quite there yet.
I like that you said that after 2 seasons we'd have the discussion, not that he is world class. So that's good. I'm
not hallucinating. I'm not, what's the word? Infatuated that much. Delusional. Oh, okay. I'm not that delusional, Sam.
Yeah. Okay.
I do love the dude. I think it's awesome. Like, I just like his story. Hershey, Pennsylvania to like playing in the Champions League, winning a Champions League. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Scoring in a Champions League final. Yeah.
Almost.
No, I agree with most. Didn't he score in that Chelsea final?
No, he missed. He did have his way.
He scored in the Chelsea Champions League final.
No, he did not. He had a sweet little dink over who are they playing? Ederson, but it didn't go in. It didn't go in.
Who scored in that game? Oh, it was Havertz.
It was Havertz.
I could have sworn he scored in the final.
No, in the semis he had his way with Real Madrid though.
Oh, okay.
He scored like he was playing super well against Real Madrid, and then didn't start the Champions League final.
Interesting.
That was the whole controversy. Anyways, all right. Do you have him world class or not quite?
No. I agree with most of what you said. I think that he's I would say he's like a step below. And if that's where his ceiling ends up, that's great. That's fine. He's still one of the best players we've ever had. I think that he has to do it over, like you were saying, a longer period of time. He's finally healthy for like more than 2 months at a time for the first time since 2020, I would say.
Yeah.
So he's finally got his feet under him. I don't think he's had like a serious injury since before last year. So that's good.
No.
Not just for club, but for the U.S. men's national team as well. So I think he needs to do it over a longer period of time. I think he's still He needs to consistently be showing up against big teams, like you were saying, in the Champions League, in Italy. I think he needs to score and assist, I guess, more against the likes of Juventus, Napoli in the league to really be considered that world class. Because I mean, when you say the names, guys like Vinicius, like I think Leao is world class. Like, obviously, he's a little bit of a rut right now, but I think Leao is world class. If you
Yeah.
watched his Euros highlights, I think it was absolutely diabolical that they took Leao off in the game that Portugal got eliminated from. I mean, he was the only player even playing any kind of football on that left wing. So I think he's got the goods. I think he's got a huge upside to him. I think, Pulisic, when you mention guys like that, he's just not quite in that tier yet. I think that
Not yet.
those
Yeah.
players can do a little bit more than Pulisic can do right now. I think Pulisic can still get better. I think a huge thing is just his health, man. Like, I
Yeah.
don't mean to be like a broken record because I just said that, but like if he can stay healthy and keep doing what he's doing right now, I think, like you were saying, if he can go through a full season of being world class, if he can push for 15-10, maybe 20-10 even, like we can be having some different discussions. That would be a huge step up for him. But I think he's finally found a team that is kind of able to play to his strengths. He's able to start. With Chelsea, it was just so up and down. It's just a mess when he was there, especially towards the end. But yeah, no, so not yet, but I definitely think that he has the potential to get up there over the next year, maybe two. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And as you're talking, I think one thing that's really important, like in a world class player, like when you bring up Leao, like we say, like, oh, he's just in a bad, like a rut right now,
Mm-hmm.
because we expect better. With Pulisic, it's kind of the opposite. He's starting to change that. That's why I think he's like he might be changing it into world class. But with Pulisic, we're like, oh, wow, this is crazy. He's playing well, and that's not what you say about a world class player. Like a
Yeah.
world class player, like day in and day out, every day is just top class, scoring goals, doing really well. So we almost get like Mbappe. We're kind of numb to like, oh, Mbappe scored 2 goals. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it a hat trick? That's a world class player. Like someone that
Exactly.
you could put on Real Madrid, you could put on Barcelona, Manchester City, Liverpool. They're starting, doing well. That's world class, and I don't think Pulisic's quite there. Um, Kind of
Yeah.
quickly in your head, do you have like tiers? Like in my head,
Oh,
what I think of
100%.
is like you have best, like one of the best players in your league, which
Mm-hmm.
Pulisic is currently, if not the best in Serie A. The numbers say it. Um, and then you have top class, which I think he's broken into, where it's like, okay, like he would play at some of these bigger squads, and he would get in. Would he do as well as he's doing now? Maybe not, but he'd be usable. And then obviously the world class, like we're talking. But like, do you kind of have that in your head as well?
A little bit. Like for me, if I think about a world class player, I'm thinking like, could he go into basically any team in the entire world and not walk in, but be in the starting 11? Basically,
Mm-hmm.
walk into a starting 11. That's how I
Mm.
view the role. Like, but we're just saying layout. Like he would basically walk into any starting 11 in the entire world and be a starter, outside
Mm-hmm.
of maybe Vinicius, but he's maybe one of one on the left wing, anyways.
Right.
Like guys like Mbappe, obviously he's at the top of the top, but like walk into any club, automatic starter. And I
Yeah.
don't think that you think like that about Pulisic, at least not right
Mm.
now. Like he would get
No.
into, like you were saying, most teams in the world, but I mean, he's just not quite
Right.
up to that level yet. So, can he
Yeah.
get there? Sure, but not quite yet.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. Good debate. Good debate. Glad to see we see eye to eye. And Fez is not delusional on this topic as some others are. But I think that's a pod, Sammy.
That is a pod.
Yeah, a little late to your game. Sorry about that. We'll get you
All
off and
good.
going. Watch the Cowboys lose, and you can have a worse weekend. But
I hope they just give me
dude,
give me this one victory, man.
just one,
This
just this
one.
one. They can lose the rest just as long as they
I
beat
mean,
the
obviously, I
Giants.
don't hope that they do. I just need one.
Yeah, you need a little
Save
little
face for
little
the
pick
next
me up.
5 weeks. So
Yeah, but I mean, what if Malik Neighbors pops off and you win fantasy this week? Is
that's
that
what I'm
you don't
saying.
care? You don't care?
He can pop off, but I still want the Cowboys to win.
Gotcha. All right, you can have both, I guess. But
Well,
we appreciate you guys. Go follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. like everything, review everything. We're on Apple Podcasts as well. It really helps us out. We want a few more subscribers, trying to get to what's a good number, Sammy? If we got to like 20 subscribers, that'd be
25.
pretty sweet.
We'll put it at 25.
25 subscribers. And like I said, follow everywhere. But we'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.